the Columbian Exchange, and London's rat problem. What do all of these things have in common? Their heavy mortality rates, and all for the same reason. It's something that has been with us since the beginning of time. Longer than the automobile, longer than the printing press, longer than the fork, longer than the discovery of fire. Zip up your hazmat suits, because today we are talking about a tiny but mighty power, disease. More specifically, how contagious diseases have shaped the world you are living in now. I mean, look at how I'm giving this speech. Wouldn't have done that in 2019. From Athens to Aztecs, sewers to smallpox, and chamber pots to COVID. This is the history of contagious diseases, starting from the very beginning.
Are we really going from the very beginning? Like dinosaurs?
You got it! Saddle up! The oldest recorded mass disease takes place around 3000 BC. In the same time, the Stonehenge was being built and nomads were forming cities in Mesopotamia. In 2011, in Haman Manja, a village in northeast China, a house was discovered with 97 skeletons inside. You see, a plague struck the village, killing people so rapidly that there wasn't enough technology or living to properly bury the dead. So those who were left kind of just threw all the bodies in a house together and burned it to the ground. This is the first known record of the effects of contagious disease. It doesn't stop there, and as time marched forward, disease went with it. It led to Athens' loss in the Peloponnesian War. Smallpox assisted the fall of Rome, and bubonic plague became the Byzantine Empire's downfall. But it wasn't until the 14th century when disease started to impact the way we live today. In 1348, the bubonic plague came back, taking 30% to 50% of Europe's population with it. With so many dead, labor became hard to find. Pay was raised, Europe's system of serfdom declined, and work costing more contributed to advances in technology and medicine. Speaking of work and money, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and from there, the age of New World exploration and trade was off like a rocket. The Columbian Exchange brought many resources to both worlds, but the most traded item? You guessed it, disease! The conquistador epidemic took hold when Spanish conquistadors brought smallpox and typhoid with them to Central America. Remember, Spanish have had this disease before. Their immune systems know how to fight it. The Aztecs and the Inca, however, do not. The two once powerful empires were quickly wiped out by the disease, allowing the Spanish to easily capture their cities. Meanwhile, European explorers brought tons of diseases, but mainly smallpox, to the North Americas. This wiped out 90% of the Native American population, while giving the Europeans more opportunities to explore. So, they easily gained more land, with fewer people to fight them for it. Speaking of the English, London, spring of 1665. Rare and exquisite sights are all around. Smell that? That there? That's decomposing horse carcass, laying in literal shit. London was a fun place to be. Between the total disregard for public health and the fact that pest control hadn't been invented yet, London was about as clean as a gas station toilet seat. Enter the bubonic plague. Dead were everywhere. 50% of France died, and in London, 25% of the population died within the first 6 months. Talk about spring cleaning! Just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, the plague diminished. All of a sudden, fewer people were getting infected.
They finally got a cure? Vaccines?
No. Fire. On September 2nd, 1666, a massive fire consumed a third of London, burned for 5 days, and left 100,000 people and 100 billion rats and their flea buddies homeless. Now that's spring cleaning. I guess the people in Haman Manja were onto something. The Great Fire, as it came to be known, taught London a hard lesson about hygiene. They cleaned up their streets, installed better fire safety systems, and came up with sanitary ways to care for their dead. While our English ancestors were finally figuring out how to clean their streets and stop quartering the plague, the king started to make us quarter British soldiers instead. Pfft. We've all studied American history. You know where this is leading. The Revolutionary War claimed a total 25,324 American soldiers' lives. Quick! Guess how many of those were in combat? If you guessed around 25,000, then you're completely wrong. It's 6,300. 8,000 died on prison ships and 10,000 in camps. Our camps. The most infamous example being Valley Forge, where an estimated 4,000 soldiers died in only 6 months. As you can imagine, it severely weakened the army. But those who were left were strong, resilient, and determined to win. And we all know how that turned out. That's enough of the 1700s. Let's go to the 1800s.
Can you just skip the 1800s?
No. You like drinking clean water? Cholera. Think diarrhea, but it killed 35,000 Americans and roughly 1 million people worldwide. And counting. There are still 1 to 4 million cases annually, and 10% of those people end up dead. Cholera is a disease spread by bacteria in dirty water, and if you're unfortunate enough to drink said water, ooh, it's like Taco Bell, but worse. Americans did come up with one solution, however. Water's contaminated? Drink alcohol! Need something to soothe the pain from defecating your brains out? Drink alcohol. I don't know. It's the 1800s. Drink alcohol! But it's not all bad. Cholera had some positive effects on the world too. It led to better sewers, better waste disposal, and cleaner drinking water, resulting in the life expectancy nearly doubling. Moving on to the 20th century, we have the Spanish flu in 1918, which led to better working conditions and higher pay. Major polio outbreaks in 1916 and 1952 led researchers to better understanding of diseases and vaccinations, and COVID, an appreciation for first responders, more attention on mental health, and Zoom. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more we could have covered, from vaccinations to mosquitoes, nutrition, and personal hygiene. But Professor Snyder only gave me 7 minutes. In conclusion, the impact of contagious diseases shows us that a small and seemingly harmless thing can really be one of the most significant powers on Earth. From ancient plagues that destroyed entire cities to worldwide struggles with COVID, these diseases have shaped the course of history, influencing governments, businesses, individuals, and the very fabric of society. We have seen just how far humans have come. We went from literally setting the house on fire to a 99% survival rate in a global pandemic. But disease has always and will always be with us, one way or another. What doesn't kill you will mutate and try again later. Thank you.
Down with disease, 3 weeks in my bed, trying to stop these demons that keep